Good evening, Council. I'm Jonathan Best. I live in the North Cape. In fact, I used to work in City IT, so I've been in here installing software before, and this is my home. I love this city. I've been trying to get my road fixed for 3 years, but I still love this city. And I'm an atheist, but I'm not here to belittle anyone's belief system or non-belief system. In fact, that's precisely what I'm asking Council discontinue doing, because when we get up and pray to a specific God, we are in that instant dismissing all of the other residents' belief systems who happen to not coincide with that. I have Hindu friends who live right here in the Cape. They pray to Brahma and Vishnu and Ganesha, and they never ever hear their gods prayed to at a council meeting. And that's okay as long as we're not spotlighting another religion when we put somebody else up and let them give a prayer in their particular way. I used to be a Mormon, actually. I was raised Mormon. There's a Mormon church over on Chiquita, and I've been there many times because my wife is also a Mormon. And if you had asked me as a Mormon to conduct the invocation or be in charge of the invocation, I would have insisted every time that there was an elder from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints there to give the invocation, somebody who had the priesthood authority, because that is a very essential part of somebody who would have that role in a Mormon, in the Mormon faith. So I'm not asking for everybody to be allowed to have a prayer at the beginning of council meeting. I think pragmatically that just wouldn't work. And anyway, we have plenty of non-believers here, and I myself am a non-believer who would feel absolutely marginalized when that occurs. And I think we have enough problems in this city already. We would really, if there's something we need to do, is to come together and dispassionately discuss the issues that are really facing this city, and not to drive a wedge at the beginning of every council meeting to fence and square off this religious group against this religious group. I don't think that is in anybody's best interest. I think it's divisive and it doesn't help us. So I'm here to respectfully ask that we discontinue the practice of prayer before meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak on Resolution 51-10?
Good evening. Sandra Smith. I had no intention of coming up here and speaking until these gentlemen did. And I've done this before, and it really, for me, it's a personal. Prayer is very personal. Some of you may want to pray. You gave a prayer that was very good, but you may have wanted something different. I may have wanted something different. They may have wanted something different. And not everybody prays. Some people want to concentrate on what they're going to say when they get up here, which is what I would have done. So I don't understand what is so hard about a moment of silence. Why is that so difficult to change your invocation to a moment of silence? Thank you.
Anyone else in the public?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I should have mentioned it when the first man got up, but our rules prohibit people coming up with writing on their T-shirts that promote certain things. I made light of that last week when a Red Sox man came up, but I think that's against our council rules. So, I should have mentioned it when the first man came up.
Councilmember Brandt, I checked with the city attorney, and apparently our council rules are not clear enough, and they need to be clarified, which I intend to do tonight in Resolution 5110 once we get to that point. So for the time being, I understand that past councils have done this, but I want to make sure our rules and regulations are clear, because I don't want people coming up with their personal messages and or whatever. They didn't allow us to do it. I can remember my campaign manager being asked to leave the meeting, or she had to put the shirt on backwards, which she did, in order to comply with our rules. But those rules are rather sketchy. Okay. So I left it alone. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Sullivan. I appreciate you allowing me to speak before your rules have been revised. My name is Matthew Smith. I'm a resident of Lee County for 10 years. I'm a proud U.S. military veteran, and I'm also a member of Atheists of Florida. And I'll be very brief. I think the people just before me couldn't have said too many things much better than I just want to mention that we are a very uniquely secular nation, something that I'm very proud to be an American for and to have served this country in a nation that allows religions of all brands, all sects across the board, and zero religion, as myself and a few others. We're a nation. We're not a Christian nation. We're a nation of Christians, of Jews, of Muslims, Scientologists, et cetera, and a handful of atheists. And it's this unique secular part of our Constitution that we have that makes this country part of the great thing that it is. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public? Public input is closed. You already spoke, sir.
I want to address the shirt issue since you brought up it's going to be part of the...
I'm sorry, sir. You've already spoken. Is there a motion and a second? And then we'll open it up for discussion. Councilmember Leeds.
I'll start by making a motion to approve Resolution 5110 as presented.
Second.
And thank you, Mr. McGrail. Now I'd like to make my comments to all of the folks that were here tonight. Thank you for coming and speaking your mind and sharing your position and doing it very eloquently, I might add. I can count, and that's why I have chosen not to pick this battle with my fellow council members, because actually the invocation rule goes back to 2008, and so the issue here was to leave it alone or to fight to have it pulled. As much as I personally prefer the period of silence and personal reflection, I also can respect people that have a need or a desire or a allegiance to prayer to whichever God. And I have to agree with you on one issue, sir. Whenever somebody mentions God, I always first say, which one? Because there are thousands of them, including Satan, unfortunately, who has been recognized by some to be a god. So I don't take that term to be secular. I consider it generic myself as I like to say, supreme, powerful, positive, universal force in our universe. So whatever it might be, I won't ever purport to know if it is. I have a reservation at some point to have that discussion on the other side, but got to wait to get there. As far as the rest of the resolution, it just speaks for itself. There's really nothing, as the city attorney mentioned, that has been grossly changed. We cleaned it up. We made it consistent in all areas. And I would also have to say that I don't believe that the shirts being worn by these individuals would fall under our council rules, because they are not insulting, they are not campaigning, they are not any of the things that our council rules addresses. They are no different than our soldiers who were wearing uniforms, our police officers who wear uniforms. They're a statement of who the individual is. And with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I respect these individuals for who they are as much as I do every one of our soldiers and vets that were here tonight, and I see no problem with their T-shirts. Thank you.
Councilmember Keene.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand, Councilman Leitz, that the the invocation inspirational message shall stay as was?
As was.
As was? Okay. The reason I'm asking, because my philosophy always has been, if it's not broke, don't fix it, or don't mess with it. The other thing I guess I have a problem with is with the city manager telling him when to have the stuff to whom and what period of time. I guess I just want to see the stuff in my office in due time. If he gets it to somebody else's office, in other words, what I'm trying to say is let's have a little bit of flexibility. It's too rigid in my book, and I guess that is strange for a German to say too rigid, because that's just not the way things usually are, but it is too rigid for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Brandt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to quote, I didn't bring my copy with me today, but I think I can remember it pretty well. First Amendment says, Congress shall pass no laws regarding establishment of religion nor limit the free practice thereof. When I pray in my own environment or with a certain group of people that I associate with, I'll often use the term Jesus Christ. I purposely do not ever use that when I offer the invocation here, because let's see, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's good enough. That's a quote of the part I wanted. Because when I say God, if I do say God when I'm giving the invocation, I think everyone out there in the audience assumes I'm referring to his God, and that's fine. In fact, that can even be no God. If you're offended by, and one of you said that you're ordered to stand and bow. No, you weren't ordered to stand and bow. You were said, please stand, and you can decline that sort of an offer. And I don't feel any difference towards you if you choose to sit through that. I do sometimes see people who don't stand and put their hand over their heart when the national anthem is sung, or when the flag is when the Pledge of Allegiance is said, and that bothers me. But that's a different thing. But if you choose to sit and sit it out, that doesn't bother me at all. That's in your own minds that you think you're being offended. Quite frankly, one of you also said our country allows all religions, but what you're doing is trying to insist that we do not allow any expression of religion at all in a public meeting. And personally, I think your desire is to control the majority to do it your way, instead of allowing us to accept you to do it your way and honor you for that, and let us do what we need to do. Now, as I understand it, about the only thing 5110 does is codify the public input time. Isn't that what's about all that's left?
Yep. 5110 embodies your current practices regarding public input, and it also has tried to update the timing of information in terms of the fact that you now have workshop alternating with regular meetings, and so the former rules assumed you had a meeting every time.
Okay, that's enough for me. Thank you.